Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to talk about the JJK collab that has just gone live in North America. So this is a debut event for us, which means at least your very first roll will not be a duplicate, and because of the fact the way pad works, that every card is at least slightly different, having a wider or deeper monster box makes it easier to potentially build for various challenges, hurdles, or whatever you may be thrown at. And it's always a good idea as a general rule to actually roll in new stuff because, again, new things can populate your monster box in meaningful ways. But before you go too heavy in this event, I want to caution players that 74% of the rolls are going to be the bottom rarity. And this bottom rarity does not feature weapon assist, and they're going to be quite difficult to actually truly utilize. Like, they're not terrible cards, but I don't feel like they're going to see that much usage overall. And the fact that they comprise basically 3 out of 4 of the rolls can be a little distressing. And you might think, well, we can just use the Monster Exchange and save ourselves there, but sadly that won't be the case either, because for the Monster Exchange, only the 8-star or top rarity is available. The 7-star or middle rarity, which comprises a large number of cards, which some of them being quite valuable, cannot be acquired any other way. This is akin to how Demon Slayer worked, so if you do want to acquire these cards, you're just going to have to roll. But before you do make a Monster Exchange, wait until the 10,000 likes for the Twitter campaign is resolved. I'm quite confident we're going to hit that 10K milestone mark. Maybe it's already hit by the time this video uploads. So you'll get that free roll. Maybe it's something you'd wanted. Maybe it saves you trading stuff in if you wanted the Monster Exchange. But before I jump into the very first 8-star card in this event, I want to look at Gung Ho Belial, because Gung Ho Belial is, in all honesty, one of the most amazing cards in the game at this point in time. She's an incredible cleric. She gives great healing potential. You can get her through the Gung Ho collab through the Orb skin, so if you are truly gung ho about this game and this card, you can buy her directly. But what I want to highlight the most is that she's a full cleric active skill on a 5-turn cooldown, and her active skill gives you a reduce your health to 1. Now let's remember that, reduce our health to 1, because when I take a look at the next card here, it's going to make a lot more sense, because Yuji has 2 skill boosts in his base form and a 20-turn cooldown to transform. But in order to actually transform, you have to be below 20% health. If you're above 20% health, you cannot transform even with sufficient skill boosts. So your option is either to let yourself get smacked around until your health gets to the respective threshold, or you pop Gung Ho Belial, who's going to be a card on your team anyways. And Gung Ho Belial will give you that health going to 1, which is definitely what you want to have, and then you can transform right away. And when you do transform, you become quite a powerful leader. You have wonderfully high personal damage with quad 7 combo and a VDP with a massive attack stat. They have Dark Rose, so that's going to help everyone else, and their active skill is one of the most overtuned ones in the game, I'd say, for a transforming card even, because it is a 2-turn cooldown that gives you 1.5 times RCV and attack, so 2 relevant buffs, great. And then you make 5 dark orbs over non-hearts and then 3 hard orbs over non-dark. So I used to sing praises for Norza, how great she was when she came out. And when we think about it, Norza's active is still actually pretty great once she does transform, because 2 different relevant buffs and orb generation. He gives 2 relevant buffs and more orb generation. So this is great. And if you have dual leaders, or at least 2 of them, or even just 1, you probably could just rely on 1 enough. You have a great way to generate yourself dark orbs on a regular basis while continuously buffing yourself. So this RCV multiplier is 50% higher. This attack multiplier would be 50% higher as well. And as a leader, you need to match 5 or more connected dark orbs, which is doable with this active skill here, or just having other orb changers available. And then you are able to gain 2.3 times stats for light and dark cards. So just be light or dark, doesn't care about the typing, and you get big stat bonuses. You are quite bulky. That's a large amount of health, a large amount of damage reduction, a huge amount of bonus combos. Gives you something to actually work around with. And remember, not dying is probably going to be the best outcome in general, because for the most part, we have ways to bolster our damage. Like I said, this is a low attack multiplier, but with the active skill buff, with his own immense personal damage and the ability to stack rows, you are going to be hitting quite hard. This is kind of like various fairies. Like, Rosalind doesn't have the highest attack multiplier in the game, but she's top tier because you have ways to add in passive damage, and everyone just ends up damage capping anyways. So we can apply something similar logic to this individual here. So a tremendously strong transforming card once you are able to achieve that overall. And you can mix and match. Maybe you want a pair of Yugi to give yourself auto follow-up attack, because plus 8 combos is probably completely excessive. Like, plus 4 combos is more than enough when I think about it. Yugi gives you that auto follow-up attack, so it gives you a bit more options. And if you don't like this transforming form, or you don't have a way to utilize Gung Ho Belial, or just don't have Gung Ho Belial, his other form, which is not transforming, has potentially 6 skill boosts or 7 combo or a cross awakening. Solid personal damage with basically quad 7 combo again, potentially with a massive attack stat. And his active skill gives you 25 times attack for Dark. I don't even know why they chose 25 times. It's basically like everything is going to damage cap. Like an outrageously high multiplier for everyone on your team. Unlock the board, create a VDP or a 3x3 box of Dark in this somewhere on the board, or a rectangle of 7x6. So it's guaranteed to kill whatever you're probably facing with that instantaneous VDP. And the leader skill gives you damage reduction when you match 7 or more combos, along with more damage reduction when you match 5 or more connected orbs. So you got to blob and you got to have 7 or more combos, but you do get bonus combos here. You have auto follow attack, a large amount of damage reduction, a huge attack multiplier, but it's just not going to be as consistent, I feel, overall. The transforming one is much more stable. It's just easier to play. This is definitely quite easy to mess up and just instantly die. Like, it's not terribly hard to activate, I feel, overall, but I feel like it's just not going to be as magical potentially, just because this is such a long cooldown, and in all honesty it's going to be hard to work around. You can't really inherit something over top of it. It's going to take forever to charge back up. It's kind of cool, but I think it's completely unnecessary. And then finally, their weapon assist tries to alleviate his problem of not having the ability to actually reduce your health to 1, but that means you need duplicates of him. But it does cut your health by 80%, so that's sufficient for his activation clause for the transformation. Poison orbs are more likely to appear, which is kind of awkward, kind of detrimental overall, but you'll probably get rid of them eventually anyways. You get orb movement time for 9 turns, and RCV for 9 turns, and maybe attack for 9 turns. I can't really tell, maybe not. But either way, universal buffing overall. So, like, it is nice for sure. And I would only truly pursue this if you had duplicates, because I would much prefer to have the transforming form. And again, if you have Gung Ho Belial, the need for this weapon assist is much lower. Now we come to the next 8-star card, Gojira. I hope I said that right. And in their base form, they have only fire sub-attributes. So it means that there will be, like, the way damage is dealt, it does damage left to right from your screen, and then top to bottom. So in this case here, he will attack after everyone's main attributes and, depending on the order, after various other sub-attributes. For their awakenings, they have super blind resist, they have potentially double 7 combo, double VDP, and then you can get another 7 combo or 10 combo. So you can have double 7, 10 combo, 2 VDPs. Comically high amounts of damage output with one of the most outrageously high attack stats. Like, is that legal? Like, is that legal? I don't know. Like, what the fish? Like, damage up the yeehaw. Like, double damage cap, definitely a great candidate. And remember, these 8-star cards can actually use 8 latent slots. So you get the double damage cap and then probably 2 SDRs or whatever else is actually needed for the dungeon itself. So comically high amounts of damage output. For their active skill, you get to unlock all orbs and create a square of fire orbs. So basically, you make a 3x3 box on a 6-turn cooldown. Not the greatest overall, I feel, mostly because it doesn't actually counter mechanics aside from unlocking the board. That's all it really does. As a leader, you have a massive amount of attack multiplier and a large amount of damage reduction when you match 6 or more connected fire orbs, and you need to have 9 or more combos, and the combo count is definitely attainable. Like, it's not like it's like a reasonably strong leader skill overall. Like, these are nice thick multipliers. You're going to be having massive amounts of damage on a regular basis, and you probably want to just find someone who can auto follow attack alongside to make your life a little bit easier. But I guess my biggest gripe is the active skill doesn't actually address mechanics. If it gave like a buff of like time, RCV, or whatever, it would make it a little bit easier to incorporate, I feel, overall. But huge damage stick overall, like huge. And with a 6-turn base cooldown, you are able to inherit something over top of him, which can be meaningful because you get delays or whatever else you need to have for your respective team. He can also just carry whatever, say, damage absorb inherit you need to have as well, because I would place his active skill as a lower priority. If you decide to evolve him, he's actually becomes a rainbow, like a strong rainbow card. That single VDP can be a little bit of a detriment, but in his own context for his own team, it's okay, because all he wants to do is match 3 colors. And you can have the 3 color awakenings, you can have a 10 combo as well, because that's just the most efficient way to gain damage output, and that VDP. So let's take a look at this active skill. It unlocks the board and changes the far left column and then some other things to fire orbs, another column on the side to water, and then the middle of dark. Basically, you're making a tricolor board of a distribution that is always going to be the exact same every single time, and you have water, dark, and fire orbs. So those 3 colors, which is all you need to activate his leader skill and proc all of his personal damage with his comically high attack stat. These are actually just huge stats overall. Remember, sub-attribute only card as well. And then you also have this leader skill. You have a huge health multiplier and a respectable amount of damage reduction. Healing may be a bit of an issue, but again, Gung Ho Belial can solve all that anyways. And the leader skill is you have flat HP multiplier for dark cards, and then you get damage reduction when matching fire, water, and dark along with your full attack multiplier. An amazingly high amount of auto follow-up attack, so you probably just want to pair with someone who gives bonus combos, because 20 million auto follow-up attack is really truly not that necessary, I feel, overall. And the nice thing about this 6-turn cooldown is you can inherit over top of it. Again, it doesn't technically address mechanics in the dungeon, but it gives you a very easy solvable board, which is probably going to be enough to guarantee you actually one-shot whatever's in your way. Again, double damage capping this individual is definitely meaningful. And remember, with this huge amount of health multiplier, you don't even have to necessarily trigger or proc your full leader skill just to stall, because if you think about it, 6.25 times health is a large amount of health, and there's a good chance you can get smacked for like a couple 100,000 and still survive, and that's all gravy overall. So a strong leader overall, definitely putting a little bit of a twist on Rainbow. Like, I feel like you still want to be very strong for Mono Dark because of that VDP overall, and your leader skill only procs on 3 specific colors, so there's no need to have other colors on your team. It's like you're Rainbow, but not Rainbow at the same time. It's a cool concept overall, and it'd be a blast to actually roll him for myself, or just get it through the Twitter thing. And for their weapon assist, this is possibly going to be one of his most appealing forms, because if the other forms don't do much good for you, this weapon assist will be quite meaningful for Mystic Dimensions, or the current latest endgame content, because it gives a skill boost, always helpful. Tape resist, actually relevant in that dungeon. Team RCV, who doesn't like healing more? 40% blind resist, nice. But it's the active skill that's going to push it over the top. So for 1 turn, you get 100% damage reduction. So 100% damage reduction means you survive executes, you survive dangerous mechanics. Inshura 2, gills under 50% hits you incredibly hard. You survive. Shura 3, Hexazeon under 50% hits you incredibly hard. You survive. Mystic Dimensions, Albrich or Dark Albrich hits you for a comically high amount of damage, and if you can block it with 100% shield, you have another 6 or 7 or so turns to kill him, and it becomes quite trivial. So right away, this huge shield is relevant for the 3 hardest dungeons in the game. And then on top of it, you get 3 turns of delay. So you can help yourself transform much more easily. That is most certainly quite meaningful. And then you have this shield to protect yourself later on in the dungeon. Conversely, if the spawn in question cannot be delayed, that 100% shield still saves you. So let's look at Mystic Dimensions. The first floor is 2 giant carbuncles. One of them has the inability to be delayed. You could just wait until they are about to hit you, delay the one that is delayable, and then 100% shield the one that is not delayable. Buys you more time, and then it will charge up towards the end of the dungeon to save you later on. Or even just throwing up a delay even midway through a dungeon can be meaningful if you've mismanaged active skills, because quite a few spawns are delayable. So as a whole, this is a wonderfully strong weapon assist, and it definitely will make your life much easier, and at least it is monster exchangeable, unlike Toon World, which you had to IAP. I really should have bought it because it would make my life so much easier, but this is something to keep in your back of your mind. If you're trying to play through that dungeon, this could be your possible solution to overcoming those problematic encounters. And now we're going to go to the 7-star cards, and the 7-star cards do not, well, they are unable to be acquired outside of rolling. You can't monster exchange them. This is kind of like Demon Slayer. So if you like these cards, you're going to have to roll and just pray you get something of value. So for the first individual here, I'm not going to try and pronounce names because it's going to be a complete disaster. In their base form, they have 3 of the attribute 3 awakenings. They can have 4, so they can have significant amounts of personal damage with a high attack stat. They can either have super blind resist or more skill boost depending on what you need. For their active skill, they give an attack and RCV buff on a 3-turn cooldown. Right away, that is meaningful. Like, it's easy to utilize. It will charge up on a regular basis. 3-turn cooldown means you can inherit over top of it, which in turn lets you have, like, say, delays, haste, or whatever you need to actually bring for the given dungeon. I love low base cooldown cards with meaningful base active skills. And then it also removes all Awoken binds. Because why not? Let's stack on even more value. I can definitely see this being meaningful throughout many different dungeons, because let's say your main cleric is down for whatever reason. This is a nice pseudo backup. It doesn't clear unmatchable, it doesn't clear regular binds, but it's a pretty well jam-packed active skill overall. For their leader skill, it's got weird multipliers, but there's no damage reduction, which is definitely a bit of a drawback. But with no damage reduction, it's still doable. Things like Natsuro still are functionable. But let's take a look at the rest of it. So you have to have devils or attackers on the team, which may possibly be a little bit restrictive potentially. And you want to have them be devil and attacker for the biggest multiplier possible. And then you want to match 3 or more colors to get auto follow attack and your full attack multiplier. So this is quite a bit of love for Rainbow overall, for sure. And Beach Mariel is another attacker card, so again, it could potentially benefit if that's of interest for yourself, or just utilizing even this individual as a sub. It's not a bad thing overall. Like, I think it's quite a nice flexible Rainbow card. If we look at their evolved form, they still have that Rainbow-esque aspect, but they have that VDP. So it's kind of letting me think that, well, you're more like, I want to be really monocolor, but I just happen to have other colors present. Gojira probably says hi as well. They have 4 skill boosts. They have the tape resist, which was meaningful in current Mystic Dimensions, and they have potentially strong personal damage. They have a 5-turn cooldown instead, and you get RCB and attack buff. It's a higher amount of a buff, but it's a longer cooldown, and if your health is above 50%, you get to bypass damage absorb shield effects. So, you can have a 5-turn cooldown Fujin. This is great for various content where you only need a single turn of damage absorb. Like Shura 1, this will be amazing overall. It's not relevant for Shura 2, and in Shura 3, well, not Shura 3, yeah. Like Shura 3, you need to have 2 turns at least, so this won't quite work out. But it's going to be definitely quite meaningful when you're playing through dungeons that have multiple repeated spawns with damage absorption, because you can keep your health at a high threshold. You gain this wonderful high value active skill, and even if you don't have that health threshold, buffing attack and recovery is always a meaningful aspect overall. For the leader skill, it's just unfortunately going to be nothing truly special. It's another Rainbow-esque leader, but there are other stronger Rainbow leaders overall. For their weapon assist, 3 team health awakenings, always nice. And then it gives you 10 turns of dark orbs more likely to appear, so dark teams say yes. And then you get 2 turns of damage absorb and attribute absorb cancellation. So Boar Helmet is probably one of my preferred weapons because it's something I actually have. It gives you skill boost and 2 team health with a 2-turn active skill that covers the same mechanics. This is 1 less skill boost, but more health. Definitely meaningful overall. Boar Helmet with a skill boost is probably going to be a bit more flexible overall, but at the same time, if you didn't need that skill boost and you needed more health, this is most certainly a meaningful way to utilize them overall. And if you can take advantage of the Dark Orb Skyfall, even better. Obviously, if you're mono dark, it helps. Or if you're playing a card that converts dark into an important color, it can be meaningful. Next, we come to this individual here, and she is going to introduce the Nail Orb concept. So Nail Orbs are a new type of orb that when they are matched, they deal 1% of the opposing spawn's maximum health to them. This damage triggers after all your other damage, so in theory it can be follow-up attack, but the problem is it's not a reliable enough mechanic overall at this exact moment, because her active skill gives you a 15% chance for Nail Orb Skyfalls. It doesn't generate them, it just has a chance to appear. And you also get orb movement time and unlocking the orbs. So, like, it is a cool concept overall when I really think about it. Like, I like the idea, but there's just no support for Nail Orbs at this point in time. There's no other way to generate Nail Orbs except from this random Skyfall chance. Maybe in the future when we get either, say, Awakenings, that kind of like Poison Blessing or Jammer Blessing, where they, like, those respective orbs can potentially fall on the board, maybe that will help. Maybe we'll have other ways to generate Nail Orbs. At this point in time, like, it is unique, but it's just going to be truly hard to truly take advantage of, because I don't really foresee myself really utilizing her on any given team at this point in time. Like, she does things, but it's just not going to be enough things overall, I feel. If we look at her evolved form, similar active skill, but it's 3 turns, a 50% chance for Nail Orbs. Maybe more likely the Nail Orb will appear. Again, it's not a reliable way to do damage, but at the same time, if we do continue to face spawns with massive amounts of health, such as, say, Hexazeon, where they have 100 billion health, each Nail Orb is 1 billion damage. That's half a damage cap almost. It could definitely be meaningful if we have ways to get Nail Orbs more reliably. In terms of her awakening, she has the tape, 7 combo, 10 combo VDP, but I just wouldn't be able to find a way to squeeze her into a given team because it's an unreliable source of damage, and the 20% gravity is cool, but I just feel like it's going to be difficult to take advantage of. Again, this is new and unique, and if you have it, maybe it'll be amazing in the future, but right now, at this exact point in time, it's a little underwhelming. For her weapon assist, you get 2 team healths, enhanced wood combos, so more wood combos, more damage, and that same active skill where you get to have nail orbs for 2 turns, but you also get 2-turn delay. Kind of a weird counterintuitive thing because you probably want to kill stuff using the nail orbs, but it's just something new. Again, maybe this will become more relevant in the future, but again, it's unique and pretty cool at this point in time. For this individual here, Maki, I hope I'm saying that right, they have potentially 4 skill boosts or 2 with a poison 100% poison resist, which is definitely meaningful. They have the 4 attribute offensive awakening or with some 7 combos and a high attack set, so they could deal large amounts of damage. This is definitely an event that loves Rainbow, and Beach Mariel or Swimsuit Mariel is going to be one of the key pieces for Rainbow teams moving forward. But for this individual here, you get to have an attack buff for each instance of physical healer attackers on a 2-turn cooldown. So it's an attack buff on a 2-turn cooldown. It could be a large amount of attack buff. It could be small. Again, I feel like a Beach Mariel who can make systems with 2 copies like yourself and a friend, you don't really need these attack buffs anyway, so it's a little underwhelming, I feel, overall. For the leader skill, you gotta be a Rainbow-esque style, but like the thing is there are stronger Rainbow cards overall, but maybe you can definitely take advantage of them, but you probably want to use 7x6 to ensure you have 4 more colors every single time. For their weapon assist, you have an attack while above 50%, a devil killer, and then that same, then 2 turns of a massive attack buff potentially for each devil killer on the team. But the problem is, it's unlikely you're going to have many devil killers on the team, and it's just going to be an underwhelming attack buff. If you have 3 devil killers, it's 3 times damage. No, 4 times damage because you have 100% base and then 300% on top. Like, it could be large, but I doubt you're going to have that many devils on the team to make it meaningful. For, I don't know how to say these names, I'm going to probably butcher it. For this green individual here, he has a new and unique active skill. And I want to just talk about that because it's going to be his most relevant form. Like, his other form does exist, but this is so unique. So, looking at his awakenings, he has multi-rainbow awakenings, attribute 5, so large amounts of personal damage when you have 5 or more colors. Definitely great for rainbow-oriented teams, of course. But again, if maybe you're playing, say, all-attribute team that's mono wood, maybe you might hit those, maybe not. But that's not what's most important. We want to look at this active skill. And the active skill is swap your team leader with the sub in the 4th position. I don't know exactly what the 4th position is, but you'll just have to tinker when you get this card and just see who gets swapped. And we do have leader swap active skills, but those have to be inherited on the card, and that respective card swaps into place. This lets you actually utilize cards with exceptionally long base cooldowns or transforming cards for leader swapping. That means you could swap your Nautilus into 7x6 board, and that's okay because you didn't need Nautilus to utilize the leader swap active using this sub to do it for you. So we have now opened up the possibility of using transforming leaders on 7x6 when they shouldn't be on 7x6. It's a truly cool concept overall, and it is unique. And if this was monster exchangeable, I would highly recommend you would pick it up because there's no other way to do this in the game at this point in time. And it might end up being tremendously meaningful. Like, we may have a point in time where 7x6 reigns supreme with transforming cards, and why not make it actually work? The drawback is you're either inheriting this active skill with no awakenings conferred, or you're utilizing them as a sub. And depending on the team you're actually running, it may not be relevant. Rainbow-based teams, beautiful overall. But another thing I want to truly mention is that it becomes a dead active skill later on in the dungeon. Like, the nice thing about inherited leader skill swaps is that, let's say my Story Sakuya inherited leader swap, which is what I've been doing. I swap her into position, then I just use her base active skill, never let it overcharge again. With this individual on your team here, you can never touch his base active skill ever again, because you don't want to swap things again. That's just counterintuitive. So you have a completely dead weight active skill. So maybe I'm giving it too much value, but it is so unique. It's just something I just want to talk about overall. For their weapon assist, it doesn't have that active skill. If it had that active skill, oh, bonkers weapon assist overall. But it's still actually a pretty strong weapon. You get full bind immunity, enhanced heart orb, which means healing is easier, and a team RCV. You also have a unable to match orb effect, clear, and all bind awoken binds. This is a full cleric active skill on a 9-turn cooldown with useful awakening. So this is definitely meaningful overall if you can't take advantage of this weird new leader swap mechanic. It also gives you RCV and movement time buff. So where could we use this? That would be highly relevant. Shura 3 On floor 2, you can clear all those debuffs with one active. Not very nice. It's not Misty Rain where it gives the delay, but not bad. In Mystic Dimensions on floor 2, there's a good chance you have RCV and time debuff and things get bound. This will solve all those problems. I was using Fasca's Inherit for my Sakuya team. This is definitely another strong option overall, especially if you need ways to bolster your healing output. And then in his base form, like, you do have the ability to change the opposing spawn to water, which will actually make it easier to kill. So definitely useful for mono wood teams if you're playing a dungeon with lots of red spawns. It could be not a bad way to layer in more damage, but I feel like the other options are just stronger overall. For Kento, I hope I said that right, they have 4 skill boosts, and they have the potential to have 7 combo with a VDP with a respectably large attack stat. Nothing special, nothing great, unfortunately. And their active skill gives you a board unlock, creates 7 light orbs over non-hearts, and create 3 hearts over non-lights, and then 3 times attack for 1 turn. Like, it's an okay active skill, but his awakenings are not that great. His active skill is really just not that magical overall. You can argue that his leader skill is cool, but you have to match 7 or more connected light orbs, which means you can't make a row unless you're on 7x6. So it's just another big hurdle overall. And I don't understand why he has 7 damage of auto follow attack. It's kind of weird, but it's there at the same time. Maybe this could definitely work if you are able to utilize 7x6, because these multipliers are not bad overall. You get auto follow attack and bonus combos in the same card, which is actually pretty nice along with damage reduction. But you have to connect hard orbs. You have to also connect 7 or more light orbs. It definitely needs to shine on 7x6. For their evolved form, they become more rainbow oriented with these attribute 3 awakenings, so rainbow teams will like that for sure. They have L's, which is really not that needed on rainbow teams. I don't really find myself wanting to unlock the board as rainbow because I'm like, I'm matching all the board. I'm just matching the whole board anyways, whatever. Either way, their active skill gives you an attack buff and increasing Jammer's Skyfall. And then you change Jammer to Light Orbs. So it's a weird, convoluted way to make Jammers and make them into Light Orbs, but it also can be a way to overwrite any existing Skyfall debuff. Using Poison Surge, using Jammer Surge is usually the most efficient way to counteract those Skyfall debuffs. But this individual here can do that as well, because your own self-debuff overwrites an existing debuff. So you can convert those Poison or those Jammer Skyfalls, or into 1 turn of Jammer Skyfall, and then convert those hazards in the future into Light Orbs. It's kind of cool, but like, I still feel like it's a bit on the gimmicky side overall. Like, the surges are just quite efficient things to use overall because if the card isn't doing respectable damage, they don't need SDRs, you stick a surge on and you're happy overall. For their leader skill, you want to be light attribute, and you need to be below 80% health. Juggling your health is just a bit of a nightmare, I feel, overall, and it's just not going to be an efficient leader skill for the most part. For their weapon assist, it definitely gives love to light row-based teams with the team health, team RCV, and 4 light rows. You get to unlock the board, create 7 light orbs, 3 hard orbs, 7 times attack for light. So guaranteed to kill whatever spawn is in your way. It's cool and all, but like, I feel like this card is just not as magical overall compared to the other cards. For Mahito, hope I said that right, they are a transforming card with 3 skill boosts and a 28 turn cooldown to transform. So quite a long cooldown requirement, but at least he does give some skill boost to make it a little bit easier. And you do have if you do have some damage reduction, and you do have health multiplier, so you might be able to tank a hit or 2 at the beginning, maybe not. Once you do transform, you have 3 dark rows, 4 VDPs. So 4 VDPs means you do massive amounts of damage when you match a VDP, but you won't. And rows with VDP, it's kind of hard. You need to have 9 plus 6, so 15 orbs to get the full potential. A little awkward overall. You may not be doing damage unless you make that VDP. But his active skill is pretty overtuned. For 1 turn, you get to increase your attack multiplier for each VDP awakening on the team. And there's a good chance you're going to have a large number on the team, so let's say if you even have just 10. Not a bad 2 times attack multiplier. Maybe you're going to have more because they already have 4. There's a good chance you could have a lot depending on the types of team you bring. You also have the ability to change water and wood to dark. So remember what I said about 15 orbs being hard? Well, on a given board you have 6 elements. 1 of them is dark. And now this active skill changes 2 of those others into dark. Now you have 3 elements that have become dark. So 50% of your board is going to be dark. Maybe there's a chance that it means you have 15 orbs for that beautiful row VDP. As a whole, this is actually quite a powerful active skill. Like, it's a huge amount of orb generation on a regular basis with an attack buff, which is never going to be a bad thing overall. So Pretty great stuff overall, but the problem is that lengthy transformation time. As a leader, you get to have 50% damage reduction when you match 5 or more connected Dark Orbs. I don't think that should ever be a problem with just how much Dark Orbs you can potentially generate. You get bonus combos and auto follow attack when you do those Dark Orb matches, and you just need to be a double type card. So with 2 of these as leaders, you have basically unlimited Dark Orbs, and you can be just dishing out damage on a regular basis, and it's a matter of bringing other utility cards to survive for the most part. So I think they're actually quite a strong mono Dark leader, and I would love to roll one because I could probably play around, and I've always enjoyed row teams, and like dark and blue just tends to be my favorite colors for this game anyways. So powerful stuff all around. For their weapon assist, they have a bind immunity, a skill boost, and 2 rows. So naturally, they're great on mono dark teams. Their active skill gives you a 2-turn delay, helps you transform. Also, orb movement time and an attack buff. Useful things overall. If you're going to be able to utilize at least one aspect, probably 2 aspects of this active skill. So not a bad thing overall, but I would definitely want to just keep him in his transforming form. Next is Jogo, and they're the last 7-star card to be featured here. They have 3 skill boosts in their base form with a 28-turn transformation. So keep that in mind. If you want to be able to transform, you need to bring quite a few skill boosts. And I want to just start off by saying that these 3 enhanced fire orbs add in significant amounts of damage. So if his attack multiplier looks lower, it's greatly compensated. But this card here has amazing synergy with Rosalind. So I'm just going to Rosalind. I'm going to pull up Rosalind and then leader skill 7, 3, 2, 3. And then I'm going to pull up their leader skills to show you how great they are together. So, their leader skills, when you transform him after a certain period of time, you will have a huge attack multiplier. Huge. Remember, Rosalind had a low attack multiplier, relatively speaking. He has a huge attack multiplier. He has a large amount of health. Rosalind doesn't. Let's just look at their combined leader skill. They have 2 times health, a big attack multiplier, and this attack multiplier is actually gargantuan of all these enhanced fire orbs. You're going to have so many on your given team that you're going to be dishing out damage like no other. You also have 85% damage reduction. That's a huge amount of damage reduction considering the fact that you also had 2 times health. You become incredibly bulky. And then let's take a look at back what he does. So he has quad 7 combo. So again, big attack stat. He's going to easily damage cap with no problem. Like just this attack multiplier of all those enhanced fire combos, huge amounts of damage. It's a shame they can't take double damage cap. It's also a shame he does no damage against void spawns. But his active skill solves that problem. For 1 turn, ignore damage void, and then change water to fire orbs. So you can solve all your damage void needs. You don't have to run Rudra, and assume you can one-shot the respective spawn, you're okay. You could probably chip it down potentially, but even with a 3-turn cooldown, you're going to be able to cycle it back up relatively fast and be able to probably push your way through that respective encounter. You also have auto follow attack, and well, you had auto follow attack with Rosalind, but you have bigger auto follow attack now, so you could potentially bypass or dodge certain spawns that were a bit more problematic. And as a whole, this is definitely a strong pairing. The main drawback is with double Rosalind, you have a much more seamless way to generate orbs overall. It's easier to get going to a certain extent because if you want to pair the 2 of them, Rosalind in her base form has 0 skill boosts, and this individual here needs to have 28 turns to transform, and Rosalind has, well, 0 skill boosts in her starting form. So you might have a bit of a difficult time hitting 28 skill boosts and then stalling for Rosalind. Just keep in mind that this is definitely going to be a bit of a drawback, but if you didn't roll Rosalind, Jogo is going to be an incredibly strong pairing for yourself overall. And then if we look at their weapon assist, assuming you had duplicates, you get to delay enemies by 3 turns and then a 25% gravity. And useful awakenings overall, but I would definitely keep them in their base or transforming state in order to capitalize on the fact that they are a strong leader. So, with that being said, this concludes all the 8 and 7-star cards for this event to give you a better idea of whether or not you should be rolling. The bottom rarity, they're okay, but I feel like they're not going to really bring that much value to a given monster box for the most part. And I want to highlight the cards that are more of the chase ones, and it will give you more motivation potentially to roll. So, with that being said, let me know what you think about this event in the comments below. Do you think it's worth rolling in? And if you did end up rolling, let me know how you made out. With that being said, I'm going to be doing some rolls on my Twitch stream later on this evening and upload that rolling video as well to YouTube at a later time. Regardless of all that, hopefully you'll have a truly fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.